Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Lund University International podcast. On this show, we aim to give you a taste of what international student life at Lund is like as we speak to current students, alumni, teachers, and many more special guests. My name is Maria Lindblad, and I am an international marketing manager and recruitment manager here at Lund University. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Lund University International podcast. Today we're going to talk about something that hopefully none of our listeners have missed. This year, a researcher, Professor Anne Hullier, was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics. And she was awarded this prize together with two research colleagues from other universities, Pierre Agostini from Ohio State in the United States, and Ferenc Krauts from the Max Planck Institute and Ludwig Maximilian University in Germany. And we are, of course, so proud of Anne here at Lund University, and we are going to talk a little bit about all the excitement around the day of the announcement and what's going on now. There's a lot of information, of course, in media, and I'm sure that all of you listeners have seen and heard multiple interviews with Anne and about her research. But today we're going to take a slightly different angle and talk a little bit more about what happened behind the scenes, the big day of the announcement, and what's going on now. And with me to talk about this today, I have Kristina. Welcome, Kristina.
Thank you very much.
Will you please introduce yourself to the listeners, who you are and what you do here at Lund University?
Yes, I work as a press officer, and that means that I help researchers to communicate towards media and help media to find researchers. That's the sort of basic things I do. And luckily, I share, for this event happening, I share my time between the engineering faculty, Lunds Tekniska Högskola, and the central communications department.
So I can only imagine that when the Nobel Prize winners were announced, that was a busy day for you.
Indeed. A happy and a busy day.
Can only imagine. So let's go back all the way to the beginning. So did you have any suspicion or thought about that maybe Professor Anne would pull this off this year?
Yes, there were some talks about this, but on the other hand, it's been talks for some years, because she has been in the loop, kind of, but it has been increased, let's say, from the last year, from my perspective. So last year we had prepared a web thing that she was winning. But then we didn't obviously publish it. And the same thing goes for this year. So, and personally, I was I think it was unconsciously, that because you wanted her to win, but my colleague was watching the announcement, because we always do this. We work with press. We always try to find experts for the press, so we do that anyway. But I wasn't really listening. But then I heard sort of the keywords when they said laser, attosecond, and I said, oh! And I remember her putting my hand on her shoulder, my colleagues, because she was just next to me, and I was screaming out in the room.
Yeah, it's so interesting because there's so much speculation, like, do you actually get any pre-information or not? And there's so much secrecy around
it. It's very, very, professional. We don't know anything.
Yeah.
And I've talked also to the closest colleague. They don't know anything about it. Yeah. So, and they also, I think her closest colleague, they sort of also, of course, heard it. So they didn't know anything about it either.
Wow, yeah. It's really amazing. And I know that there was some speculation also in the news, like she was one of the sort of shortlisted ones. And we had a meeting that same morning too, and we were like, nah, but it's not going to be this year. Like, no, because they had said, no, maybe not.
It's like in the literature, the one who sort of speculates most, they don't get it.
Yeah.
But it's not the same logic in this field, but still.
Still. So you had then some kind of maybe, but still not enough to really like prepare a big thing, obviously. Yeah. So what could you sort of prepare in advance?
Yes, what we did prepare, I just mentioned the web notice that sort of we did find a good photo of her and text, and so we prepared that, which we did last year as well. And then for this year, also because we prepared, because my boss said, be prepared, maybe, so she sort of also, but she didn't, of course, even know anything. It was just, like you said yourself, the speculations. And so we also started a group on Teams with some sort of randomly people. But it was some people, a communicator at the physics department, because we wanted to know where she was. Because we did plan that much. So we know, okay, if she got it, we want to be very quick and get an interview with her.
Oh, yeah.
So because that's the kind of thing we've been joking about for the years. When you do this for Facebook or anything, just this quick answers question. They say, think we can do it when we win the Nobel Prize. And then we're always laughing. Yeah, right. So no, this is true. So my colleague who worked with film, he prepared his little bag with equipment. And I found out that she was where she was having a class.
Yeah.
And Rydbergssalen, it's called, from another prominent researchers long ago. And so, yes, that was another preparation. The Teams group, which was enlarged enormously during the day, obviously.
Yeah. Wow, that's so when it started getting closer to the hour, like 11:45-ish, how were you feeling and where were you?
Yes, we had another group for a meeting, and so I was in the room, and it was a good day for us because Tuesday we were all there. The whole group was on Tuesdays. We always all group on place. So maybe we would have been anyway because of this. But yes, as I said previously, I was didn't want to be. I was nervous as I didn't really want to listen at all. But my colleague was listening. So and then we were having a really adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
Extremely. So we were screaming. And then we were running around, and then we my colleague said, now we are having a bicycle race up to Fysiken. So we sit in the botanical garden.
Oh, yeah,
So it's it's not that long, but it's still for a bicycle tour. So he was riding first. Yeah. And then I was passing him and riding even quicker. So we had a race.
So you were racing to the department.
Yeah. And two of us, me and another colleague, we were running up to Rydbergssalen. But she wasn't there. It was just all the students listening to the broadcast from the KVA, alltså Kungliga Vetenskapsakademin. But we were, and then he was she was still in her room having a press conference in Stockholm.
Yeah.
So the door was locked. But we were waiting outside there.
Yeah.
And there were people, colleagues who were so happy coming and continue, and then also coming other journalists.
Yeah. And I can say also working in another office here at Lund University, there was just celebrations everywhere. Everybody, but we didn't really know what to do because we didn't have an obvious role, but we were all so excited. We couldn't really work with anything else. We were just like, let's drink some champagne, let's do something. And everybody was just kind of ecstatic, but we didn't really know how to express it or what to do. Yeah. And also the management, from what I understand here at Lund University, took a race up to the department. To congratulate another day. Yeah. And what happened then after you finally got a hold of her?
Yeah, then as you said, there were a lot of people didn't have a role, but at our place, many had a role. So there was, when I was at physics, I can talk from my perspective, we made a quick interview, and that was really good because that was shared enormously on social media. Maybe you've seen it. The first moment, it's called, when she stands and everyone is applauding, and then just some quick questions. And we actually did that twice because when she was opening door, I was I was standing and interviewing, and she was so shocked.
Yeah.
And so my colleague said, we do it once more. So we did it actually twice, and that was much better. But we still have this spontaneous applause where people look so moved in their faces. So that was our own thing. But then, of course, then was all it was about handling media. So it was a very interesting day when international media is all they want to do is talk to. us. That was sort of a
yeah. And of course, again, this is nothing you can prepare. They just start calling. And so, how do you manage the actual day around that? Once you've had the press conference with Anne, and like you said, media is calling, they're emailing, how do you manage it? How do you prioritize and how do you structure?
Yeah, it was a good teamwork in our group, because we were some people at the physics department, but then we organized a press conference. My colleague did, so we were very quick to put up a time, and this read by Sal, and we booked that so we could have a meeting with her there, and so we sort of tried to make media to come there, and we also tried to establish a Zoom link so international media could attend. Yeah. There were some technical problems, but it worked all over. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, quite the pressure there.
Quite the pressure.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And what was the sort of follow-up after the press conference? Was Anne handling it herself, or was it mainly you?
Well, I can just say first, when she came out, that she did some quick interviews just after, at the first, of course, in the Kovia, in Stockholm. And then she had lunch, and then there were some people running around after her when she went to this press conference, and then she had a short intro, and then people asked questions. And then after that, we organized with a queue system for media, where we tried to give a preference for the big international media, like BBC, Associated Press, and all these who were chasing her.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of improvising, but I think we did it quite well.
Yeah. So what did work now in hindsight? What worked well, and what were the challenges, or what didn't quite work in terms of the communication and press process around her?
Yeah, there were some technical problems. So, but because we had, we would love to have a better technical support on this short notice. Yeah. But it did. Then it was good because there was other media live streaming. So for them, their part, it worked. So that could have worked better, and also we didn't practice this press conference. So if you are sort of in Swedish you say efterklok, of course we could have practiced, but it's still difficult to practice for something that is sort of you don't know if it's going to happen, because then it's like crisis communication. You can practice all day if you want for different crises, but then but it's more to have a good collaboration and. Be alert and agile, so you can work it out. So, but I think we tried to. It was to the prior, so that people could have time to talk to her, but not too long, so that everybody have the share. And of course, we want to prioritize the big international media first. Yeah. And then there was another thing that she had booked. Another talk is a tradition that they have from KVA, different talks. So we have to interrupt that a little bit to give. Later on in the day, so the BBC could have a live chat with her, because for us that was important. And then but it worked out with all the people in. I always say KVA, but I just don't have the name now.
Yeah, the Royal Academy for Science.
I can add that I have a colleague who works with international media, and that's not me. But so I'm not the only one. So
yeah. But it's exciting to hear, because obviously it's such a big university, and it's obviously a world event, and just to coordinate that without preparation, basically. Yeah. And of course, in addition to press, there's a lot of other channels, and the website you mentioned before, and there's social media, and there's like other types of meetings and events and communication around that day. So it's really a lot of coordinating.
It is.
Going on.
It's like someone said. It's like a crisis communication. Yeah. But everyone is happy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's the opposite of a crisis communication. And another very important part of the day, which was another thing that couldn't be planned, and that was very unique with Anne. At least I've never heard of or seen any other Nobel award being announced and seen this. And that was the students. Yes. Because Anne was actually giving a lecture.
Exactly.
When this was announced, and her phone kept ringing, and she didn't want to pick up in the middle of class.
Yes. he had to try several times.
Until she actually went on the break. Talk to us a little bit about the the student aspect and what that did for sort of the image, if you will, of the entire event.
That's sort of a little bit besides me, but as yourself, it's for me, it was like a coincidence that she was actually teaching, because you have teaching periods. Like there is some periods she doesn't teach at all. But for coincidence, she had this period now that she was teaching, and she loves teaching a student. That's sort of obvious to me and everybody else. That this is uniquely very important, genuinely very important to her. And there has been shared also, as many people have seen on social media, when students were sort of streaming her reaction. She was so cool and just continued to be a teacher.
Yeah.
And I think that is fantastic and says a lot about her. And but she went a little bit earlier, and they stayed afterwards, and then sort of really could guess what happened. And yes, it did happen because they watched it on TV.
Yeah, exactly. Kristina and I watched a clip here right before this recording of one of the students had filmed on their mobile phone and was trying to pressure her to say something, and she went, "No, I don't know anything. You don't know anything." So, but it was so charming, I think, for many people to see her prioritizing the undergraduate class and really continuing on the lecture even after such an announcement. So that really shows who she is.
It does. It does indeed.
Yeah, and even the students were saying that she must be one of the most humble people in the world.
That's sort of the key word to her. Apart from that, she's like kind of a super intelligent and devoted to what she does. As a very humble person.
Yeah. No, it's very, very, very interesting. So I can only assume that Anne has been congratulated from many different people. And can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, she has sort of. I met her like some days after, and she said, "No, I've answered 800 mails or something."
Wow.
So there were people from all over the world also contacted us, and many contacted her directly. So to solve all this media, her closest colleagues were very important, who sat the room next doors. So they also done a great job to sort of answer questions for media, interviews. So they also been in sort of a press officer in a way, sort of, because none of us are working. The university is so big.
Yeah,
we don't work close to the research in that way.
Yeah.
But, so that was a good cooperation also with her colleagues.
Yeah. And even her husband was answering a lot of questions.
He did a lot of. They've been home with their homes, so the TV and everyone to be interview them from Sweden and other places in the world.
Yeah, and Anne is originally from France, so I know that also there was on the Swedish television they were saying that even the French president had called in his congratulations and so on. So very exciting.
They were standing up there and applauding in the parliament. Yes, for her and also the other one, Agostini, they were colleagues. I think,
exactly,
they
worked together in France before and moved to Sweden and to Lund. Well, obviously the celebrations continue in different formats. That was the day of the announcement. Now, as we record this, we are in early December, and as you listeners, I'm sure, are aware, the big Nobel ceremony and the dinner happens on the 10th of December, which is this upcoming Sunday. By the time we launch this episode, it will have happened already. But talk to us a little bit about the excitement and the continued sort of vibe around the Nobel Prize.
Yeah, because everybody wants to make this as a shared moment in a way, and also include the students, so it's not like a VIP thing. And my faculty, the engineer, where she comes from also, is they have a big sort of festive thing next week with a talk with also Pierre Agostini, and with some celebrations afterwards. So that's sort of it's a good opportunity to make sort of inclusive thing. So, and it's also in line with her humble personality, I think, because the proudness is there anyway, sort of, to be there. And so that's happened, and there's been celebration with her colleagues, obviously, with her closest, but that's sort of their thing, kind of. So there is, and we have a sort of once for all try to explain her research very thoroughly.
It's not so easy for us laymen to understand.
It's not easy, but that's a part of our work. But normally we don't do that all the time for all the research groups. But now we had, and that's also another thing we should have prepared. We said because we could have done that before. A really good, nice presentation. Because there, of course, we have written about research before, but not this sort of really super explainer with good pictures and everything. So that was a take-home message.
And it is, as you're saying, it's coming out now in a lot of different formats. There are live streams of lectures happening. And so that part of it is finally getting explained. So now it's more trying to enjoy here the continued celebration. And we also have students going to the Nobel dinner. So that is also a tradition to let the students take part of this, since it is a science event. So, and of course the royal family and a lot of other VIP guests.
That's true. That's a big party, which some people at home, this is for the international listeners. They sort of watch this at home.
It's going to be live
and also
stream,
in kindergarten, they don't dress up and have a big dinner. And the teachers are dressed up like the king in the service. So.
And to our international listeners, the actual ceremony will be live streamed, and it is usually available worldwide actually for some time after. So when you're listening to this, you can probably Google the live stream of the Nobel Award ceremony, and the beginning of the dinner. They don't live stream the whole thing, but a part of it anyway. So that's exciting and coming up. Another thing I wanted to talk to you about, Kristina, was obviously this is a unique thing, and this was a very special occasion, but it's not that Lund University hasn't had anything to do with Nobel Prize winners before. We have obviously previous winners who have either studied at Lund or done their research at Lund or worked at Lund for some time. So even though this is the first sort of official Nobel Prize that was awarded a researcher while being here at Lund, we do have others that have had a connection. And I know there's even one building here in Lund where there's a sign outside saying that 3 Nobel Prize winners have done their research in this building. So we have some other Nobel winners as well that are connected to us. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
That's true, because researchers are movable, you don't say in English, and that's how it should be, sort of. Yes, that's true. We have Arvid Carlsson. He was having a Nobel Prize in medicine or year 2000, and he did his PhD in Lund, but he moved to Gothenburg and got his Nobel Prize. Yes. Another one is Sune K. Bergström. He got the Nobel Prize in medicine as well, but in 1982, and but he was a professor in Lund before that in physiological chemistry. So, but he moved to Stockholm and Karolinska, and where he got the prize. Bad luck for us, but good luck for them. And another one is Manne Siegbahn. He got the Nobel Prize in 1924, and he was a professor of physics in Lund. But 2 years before he got the Nobel Prize, he was a professor in Uppsala. So with this, we could have had 4 Nobel Prizes. Anyway, we could pretend.
Exactly. And maybe there are even more if we look at the students as well.
But seriously, this is, I think it's, so it's kind of fair that we got one now, in a way.
Exactly. Well deserved to Professor Ann, for sure. And many more to come, hopefully. So
we hope,
hopefully some of you listening will come here and study and do your research and award us some more Nobel Prizes in the future. We're, of course, going to get back to the Nobel Prize many times. I'm sure there will be other podcast episodes. Hopefully, we will even get to interview Anne one day. She's quite busy at the time, obviously, but maybe when things have calmed down a bit, we can get her on the pod, or somebody, some of her colleagues at least, to tell us even more. But is there anything else that you want to add that we haven't talked about now, Kristina?
No, but I hope all the listeners will be inspired about the possibilities of research
Yeah, absolutely. To all our future Nobel Prize winners.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for listening in on this episode about the behind the scenes of the Nobel Prize, and we will surely get back to this topic again. So thank you very much. Thank you, Kristina. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Lund University International Podcast. If you're interested in learning more about Lund University, you can go to our website, lunduniversity.lu.se. You can also follow us on social media, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and you can chat with current students on Unibuddy. Don't forget to subscribe, and we look forward to bringing you a new episode very soon.